Hey, what's going on? This is Dylan. It's actually Friday morning, so we're getting our Q&A a little bit late. If you're unfamiliar with this channel, we do stuff all about guitar tone and guitar tech, and every Thursday, usually, we do a Q&A. But we're going to do it a little different today. So today I'm going to show you some stuff, update you on a couple things, show you a couple of videos we got coming up. Show you some really cool stuff that I got this week. I'm really excited about. We're also going to go through some of your questions. So the way this works is patreon.com/DylanTalksTone. I make a post over there every week, and people put questions in there. And typically I handle them during a live on Thursday, so we're going to make that up today. One of those questions being talking about this special PRS pickup wire that is exclusive, blah, 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 blah. So we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But just to kind of update you what's going on. Like I said, it's early Friday morning. We got Formula One practice, FP2 on the TV because I'm a Formula One guy. And we are in Northern California. So we live in our motorhome, for those of you that are actually not familiar with our setup. I'm going to do a video here probably pretty soon, maybe next week, on our Music and Mascara channel, which is our other YouTube channel. It talks kind of about all this other stuff going on in our life, about our internet setup. But the long and short of it is it's cellular internet. 99% of the time, it's amazing. I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it. And we have some redundancies and some backups and some boosters and some other stuff. We'll do a whole video about that on our other channel. But every once in a while, we stay in a place where it's completely non-functional. And when I say a place, I mean pretty much the whole of Northern California. We literally drove an hour yesterday. We're an hour north of Redding, California. We drove to Redding yesterday. Full bars, full signal. I'm super stoked. We're in a city. We're going to do some YouTubes. We're going to do some live, and we're going to hang out with you all. And it didn't work. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. So on the way home last night, we were like, well, let's restructure how we're going to do this. So let me show you some fun stuff. You will also see while you're watching this that we are actually still doing it as a premiere. So there is a chat, there are super chats, they're all the normal live stuff. I am chatting right now with you in the comments. So even though it's not live, I thought, well, let's not do a tripod. Let's just like do this kind of, just kind of real. Not cut it. Just gonna one take through a bunch of stuff, and we might cut a couple things while I rearrange a couple things, but I'll show you. So first of all, I want to show you kind of a couple things we got going this week. All right, so I'm going to show you a couple things we got going this week before we get into the FAQ stuff. Set of Firebird pickups. I don't make these very often, but we make them every once in a while. I think they're on the website. I think they're going to Canada, so that's pretty cool. Those are going out. We've got a set. I think one of these is going, I can't remember at this actual moment in time, but I think one of these is going to Europe, and then another one is going to Canada. One of these humbuckers. We've got another shipment going out to Relish Guitars, actually. I've got a customer who's having a Relish custom built, and he wanted to put our pickups in their really cool, like, swap out. You can swap pickups out on a Relish guitar. So we made 4 different pickups for him, and so that's going to be pretty neat. So those are going to Europe as well. We've got a video coming out probably Monday. I'm going to shoot it probably today, over the weekend anyway, and then you're going to see it on Monday. This is going to be pretty cool. I got one of these string butler things. I want to talk about how gimmicky this is. If it is. I mean, I don't know. We got to try it. Question to you, and put it in the comments, and put it in the comments of this video too, and in the super chat, whatever. If there anything else like this that you want me to try? I think of things like this as, I don't want to say gimmicky, because some of the stuff does really work. But you know, there are certain things where people try to solve problems. Is it really a problem? Does it really make sense to do it, or is there a different way to do it? You know, this thing was $50. I think by the time I paid shipping and everything, this thing string butler was $50. So we need to know if we're wasting our money or not. What else like this? You know, these little gadgety things that you could think of that we could get a hold of. So one of the things I'm using our Patreon funds for, that y'all over on Patreon support our channel, right? And so I make sure that I use those funds to buy this stuff so that we can try this stuff on video. Oh, the other thing is probably towards the end of this video, we're going to give away a couple more pickups. We shipped out 3 pickups that we gave away in last week's live, and I've got a couple more. So stick around, because typically what I do is I look for people who have been watching the whole thing, and I randomly pick names, and you get free stuff. So that's how that works. So anyway, I will probably try this. I'll put it on a guitar. I've got that Epiphone Les Paul that we'll try this on, and we'll make a video about it. And then when I get done with it, we'll probably throw this in a baggie and give this away and let one of you try it as well. So that's pretty cool. This guy is pretty much the highlight of the week. The Positive Grid Spark came in. I'll just give you, here, let me just give you a little bit of a kind of a rundown of this thing. It literally has normal amp controls: gain, bass, mid, treble, master. So that's your amp. And let me tell you, this really does work like preamp, power amp, gain, master. It's really, really cool. In fact, if you notice, my gain is down further and my master is way up, because that's how I like to run it. Of course, it's got an app. We're going to do a whole video on this coming up pretty soon. Modulation, delay, reverb, and then this is like your overall output. You know, just like a whole volume for the whole system. And then this guy right here is a music volume, and you can Bluetooth your phone to this, and it's a Bluetooth speaker, and you can like play along with YouTube. And then there's a whole bunch of really cool stuff in the app. And then on the back of it, we have our USB, so you can use this as a interface, which is pretty cool. An auxiliary, and then there's a Bluetooth indicator and your power. So it's not, you would think because it was really small that it would be like 9 voltable, you know, sort of like, remember that Boss, that little tiny Boss that we had, but it's not. You have to plug it in. It actually weighs, it's 40 watts, and it weighs about, I don't know, I'm gonna weigh it for my video actually, because I think people need to know for like a practice amp thing. But super nice Tolex, like nice grill cloth, like it's a quality piece of equipment. I think, you know, I got mine on a pre-order for a little bit cheaper, but I think they're gonna be $300. And I will just say, without giving too much away of the video that's coming out soon, it's worth every penny, and I think everyone should have one. It's really, really cool. I mean, I have a Kemper, you know, the Kemper's under the bed, and this is what I'm keeping out in the living room. Partially because it's so easy, like you just sit down and you just play. And I know, again, I don't want to get too much into what the video content will be, but I will tell you, it's, the user interface is super easy. And if you don't want to mess with apps and all that all the time, you can just put 4 presets from your app in there, and then just have a little amp and just play it and use it like a normal amp. And it sounds pretty good. The headphone signal is unbelievable. It sounds good. It's cool. We'll do a full in-depth thing here pretty soon, I would say in the next week or two. Let's see, a couple non-guitar related things. Well, this is not guitar related at all, but I'm super stoked. So, oh man, who is that? I can't tell if that's Verstappen or Albon. It's Albon. And he hit the wall and he's broke. At least it's not Verstappen. Okay. Um, I didn't go expensive. So for those of you that don't know, uh, you think I like guitar stuff. It pales in comparison to how much I like motorbike stuff. From my former life, a I was in the power sports business. I rode motorcycles every day. I love them. I broke my back in 2007, sold out of that business, etc., and ended up back in the music stuff. But this is my true love. Motorbike stuff is my true love. However, I don't have one, but I keep getting invited on rides, like as we travel. My parents have motorcycles. My brother has motorcycles. My sister. All their friends have bikes, and they're like, "Oh, we need to go ride. We need to go ride." And I'm like, "Well, I'm borrowing helmets and I'm borrowing jackets and all that kind of stuff." So I didn't go full pot. I'm usually like a Shoei and Dayanese guy, but since I don't have a bike and I'm not using it all the time, I went a little less expensive with some store brand stuff. But I just got a textile jacket for the basic running. But this helmet is really cool. I'll put links to these if you guys are motorbike people in the comments, because this is like the most featured thing. It's a Sedici helmet, which is again like a store brand thing, I think, for Cycle Gear and Revzilla. But for $350, it is a carbon Kevlar shell. It's really light. It has Bluetooth built into the helmet. It has the internal shade, which is really cool. Pin lock shield, like wicked cool, man. For $350, I was like, that is a smoking deal for features, and it's really comfortable and it's really quiet. So, well, I haven't ridden with it yet, but you can just tell when you put a helmet on whether it feels cheap, and you can tell whether you're gonna like completely, die of wind noise. And this thing's definitely quiet. But it's got a microphone and headphones in there already, pairs up to your phone. Super, super cool stuff. So anyway, just a little bit of non-guitar related stuff. I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and get into some of these questions that have come in from Patreon. First of all, Patreon related, we had part 4 of our guitar setup series, that Zoom class on Sunday, and that was super fun. For those of you that don't know how that works, basically we have a tier on Patreon that you can join, and then basically once a month, it's the 4th Sunday of every month, we have a Zoom class, something guitar related. We take a subject and we really dive into it. And so we actually did a 4-part series on guitar setup. So you could literally bring your guitar, put it on your table, have your tools with you, and if you had a problem you wanted to solve, we could work together on it, or you could just learn stuff and take notes or whatever. But it was 100% interactive. Last week we had Larry come, and he hadn't been to one before, so it was really cool to actually get to know him, learn what his guitars were. It was really fun. I think there's like 5 or 6 people signed up, so it's pretty chill and low key, and it's interactive. It's not like this where you're watching a video. It's not even like a live video where you're just adding comments, because you have a camera and you have audio and we can like talk back and forth. It's really, really fun. And then there's another tier on Patreon where a month later, so 30 days behind, we go ahead and release the live ones. I record them all, and then we release the live ones uncut, so you can see all the hanging out, see all the learning and all that stuff a month later, but you can just watch it. And you can still ask questions and stuff. That's one of the benefits about our Patreon thing, is I really concentrate on answering all those questions. I was going to mention this actually in my live this week. We get a lot of people who message, for instance, my Instagram. I mean, I get dozens of them. I wouldn't say a day, but I mean dozens a week for sure. And honestly, I cannot keep up with them all. Um, I do look at the questions. I do as much as I can, at least glance through them and see what's there so that I can put it into YouTube videos. But if you really want that one-on-one, like, hey, I'm answering your question specifically, you can go over to Patreon and you can ask them in posts over there. And I try to check those every day. And then the other thing is, if you really want to answer it in a video like this, then we can do that too. Um, but I get so many messages all over, like from Messenger on Facebook, Twitter. I don't never check Twitter, Instagram, um, in YouTube comments. You know, we get hundreds of comments every day. So the Patreon thing really is super cool because it makes it to that is the one place where I literally check them every day, and I make sure, and I have notifications turned on my phone. I try to get to them as fast as I can. So that's where you go, man. If you want help with stuff, it just makes it way easier for me to have one place. Otherwise, I would literally be on social media all day long, and I would never get anything done. So I just wanted to mention that because it's not that I'm ignoring anybody. It's literally the time that it takes to do all of this is very, very involved. So let's see. We only have a couple questions this week, but one of them I really want to get into. Jeff Childs asks on Patreon, and he got, this was last week and he got it in kind of late, so I want to make sure I covered it. 22 gauge wire is pretty much the industry standard in guitars. Is that correct? Yeah, so 22 or 24. This is 24 for humbuckers. 22 probably for like a Telecaster pickup. It's a little bit thicker than this. Yes. What would be the result of using a thicker or thinner gauge wire for the electronics in a guitar? I'm not talking about 12 gauge, but if a person went to 24 or a tad thicker to 20, would the results be catastrophic or no big deal? I was just wondering, even though 22 gauge wire is easy enough to obtain. No, it wouldn't hurt anything. I think one of the things that people put way too much thought into is that stuff. So, like, you know, putting big caps or small caps or thick wire or thin wire. I wouldn't worry about it a whole lot. You are passing pretty low voltage, you know, millivolts. The more important thing is to make sure that you're uh-oh, did somebody else crash? Nope, okay. The one thing I would make sure is that your connections are good. And I would really make sure that your solders are tight. Make sure that your soldering skills are good. We have a soldering class on Skillshare. There's a link to it in this video, the description of the video, that I would definitely check out. To me, the cleanliness of soldering is probably more important than any kind of variation in wire gauge when it comes to the hookup stuff. Now, obviously, pickups, that's a different thing. But the wire gauge is no big deal. And I know a lot of people say, well, should it be shielded? Should it be... This is a whole video that I could do. But the long and the short of it is... Well, there's a couple wiring things. So let's talk about it. Let's just get into it. That's why we're here. I put 12 inches or so, this is a little bit longer, of lead wire on every pickup that we make. Okay? For example, if this was, well, here's a humbucker. So if this was going to go in a Les Paul, it would have to go a long way, right? Like this, they have to go quite a distance. Some people have even asked me, like, does it change the signal of the pickup or the sound of the pickup? Because, like, if you coil split it, which on our pickups it would be twisting these two wires together and grounding them, which means that your signal would go from the ground up to the pickup, down to the coil split wire, back up to the pickup, and then out of the red wire, vice versa. Electronic engineers get all bent about that. But anyways, Signal comes in one wire, goes up to the coil, comes through the coil split, goes back down, goes back up, and then goes back out. And people are like, well, that extra 2 feet of 24 gauge wire is going to change the tone, blah, blah, blah. It's not even measurable. Like, mathematically, it's not even measurable, so don't worry about that. The same thing with, like, the diameter of the wire. If you were to change it a little bit, is the resistance per foot of the wire different between 22 and 24? Yeah. Is the resistance per foot different between stranded wire and solid wire? Yeah. But when you're only talking about this much wire plus this much more, like, to wire your controls together, it's nothing, man. Totally nothing. I mean, when we're talking about spools of wire and thousands of feet, then, or hundreds of feet, then you're talking about resistance per foot, picofarads per foot, all that kind of stuff. Capacitance and resistance per foot, like in a microphone cable or a guitar cable. Or a phone line, you know what I mean? But this right here isn't going to make any difference at all. It's not even measurable. Like, you can't, it won't even matter. So that was a really good question, though. That's one that I get in the comments quite often, actually. So that was really good. Oh, Gary asks, what happened to the Les Ply at Texas Toast? We're going to auction that guitar. I need to get with them on that and work out the details on that. I would say right about now we're probably going to give away some pickups. Okay, so here is the big one. I had a customer ask me, I was watching a PRS video recently about their pickups. I think today they make the best sounding pickups compared to the other big boys, Gibson, Fender, etc. He said in the video that a very big part of how their pickups sound is the wire which they get from some secret place, and that they have some exclusive on it, meaning that other people can't get it. What do you think about this? Is it true that it could be some special wire, and what could be so special about it? In short, it is PRBS. We're just going to call it that. So I watched the video. He sent me a link of it. Basically, he's got a company that he buys wire from in New England, which is not exclusive. It's just a company. That company has a drawing machine, which is what they use to make the wire. Basically, it squeezes the wire from a bigger wire to a smaller. Basically what they do is they take an ingot of copper and they put it between rollers, and that makes it a little thinner and longer. And then another rollers, and it makes it a little thinner and longer. And another roller, and it makes it thinner and longer, until you have long wire that's really, really thin. 43 gauge, 44 gauge, 42 gauge. And he held up these wires, and he said, this machine is special. It does something special. And it makes this wire have some sort of PRBS that makes it better. It's just a wire making machine. It just draws the wire. And then what happens is they have like a some of them are a brush, some of them are a felt. It doesn't matter. It's just basically a way to literally hold a Sharpie full of whatever the coating is going to be onto the wire, and then that puts the coating on the wire, because all of this coil wire is actually insulated, right? It's not bare wire. It actually has insulation on it. So is there anything actually special about the wire? I doubt it. Everything on pickup wire is 99.9% oxygenated or unoxygenated or whatever they call it. Well, they say oxygen free, but they actually inject oxygen somehow into the wire to make it more conductive. So is there any kind of voodoo or secrecy behind that? No, but I would imagine that wire that comes off of that machine is probably just incredibly consistent. So I have bought wire from brands from like you buy it off of eBay or you buy it off of Remington or somewhere, and you get it, and literally when you're winding with it, you can feel the bumps in it. Like you can feel that when it came off the wire, it had a twist in it, or it was very. It doesn't always anneal perfectly. So you can feel that actually when it goes through your hands, you can feel the bumps in the wire where it's not 100% even. So I would imagine, this is a guess, but this is the only thing that could probably vary about an actual wire making machine is the consistency of how thin and how consistent along the length of the wire that it is. And so it's probably some quality machine. He says it's some old-fashioned machine, which means it probably is consistently inconsistent. So it probably has some sort of like, oh, the wire is bumpy a certain way that another machine is not bumpy. Does that make it special? Does that make it like better than anything else? No, it just makes it. Could make it unique in some way, but that video is just marketing PRBS. It's totally is, because every company that makes wire has one of those machines. And to be fair, they're trying to make it as consistent as possible because that is how you get consistent quality. I know PRS gets consistent quality, but there's nothing special about it. There's a couple things that you can get special. For example, my wire company that I buy from, will call me. He's done it a couple times where he's called me and said, "Hey, I have this spool of wire that we're making now that has a different insulation on it, that has a different capacitance, that is a different material. It's not plain enamel, it's not poly, it's not heavy form var, it's some kind of special thing. And I want to send you a couple pounds of it. You can make some pickups out of it and tell me what you think." So I've made some pickups out of it. It had a certain sound to it. I personally didn't like it. I told him, and I never bought it again. And then he called me one time and he said, "Hey, I have this other wire that I think you'll think is cool." And it was a different diameter. It's just a completely different diameter than your 42, your 43, your 44, your normal stuff. And he sent it to me, and I loved it. And our 8-ball pickups use that wire. So I have an exclusive pickup wire too. It's just not that special. The other thing is, which, I mean, if somebody else figured out what I was doing, they could just call them up and order that wire too. It's like not that big a deal. Does he maybe have an exclusive thing, like don't sell anybody else this wire? Probably. But I guess that's what you get when you have a lot of money and you can do that. I also have the wire that's in these pickups. I have a wire that pretty much nobody else has because they don't know about it. But do you market that as your pickups are going to be better than somebody else's because you get your stuff from a different place? No. And it ain't that special. Vintage Gibson pickups are not that special. They're just not. They were made messy and inconsistent. And the coils didn't match. And nobody really knew how much wire was on them because they didn't count at first. Somebody took it apart and tried to figure it out. Then they figured it out, and then they started counting. And then somehow that became the standard, Do those winding machines have a certain kind of scatter? Yeah. And that can make a difference. But all in all this stuff that people put into these pickups and all these things that they are saying, that whatever that super tuned PRBS pickup is too, it's just a bunch of marketing speak. That's all it is. And I understand why he does it, because PRS has spent a lot of money and a lot of time, and to be fair, they make a very good guitar. Very, very good and very consistent, and very sterile and very boring, but very good and very consistent. And because they pay attention to all the details. Does that mean that those details are special? No. It just means that those details are paid attention to and then marketed a certain way. That's it. I mean, and all the PRS fanboys are going to get in the comments and be like, you know, it's the best guitar I've ever had, and no, it's different, and blah, blah, blah. I've seen all the comments on all my other PRBS videos. I've seen them. But I get it. I mean, I get it. If you're loyal to your brand, there is nothing wrong with that. Just know that that is a certain type of marketing, and it works. And they are good guitars, so there's nothing bad to say about them, really. I just wouldn't market that way. Like, you know, Leslie pointed out to me this morning that we used to say that this wire was like, you know, made special for us and whatever. And I'm like, you know, actually, I don't say that anymore because of that. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to say, because I realized, no, somebody else could buy that if they figured out what I was doing. Is anybody making that pickup that way right now? No, I don't think so. So yes, it could be exclusive to me. But somebody could figure it out and they could go buy that wire and they could make a pickup like mine. And I couldn't be mad about it because I couldn't be mad about it. So no, we don't say that anymore. I don't want to get in that habit of marketing that way, which I don't really like. So anyway, that's that. That was an interesting question, and that was kind of the main one for the day. You guys, you're awesome. Thanks for hanging out. Here's what we're gonna do. Every Thursday, there's gonna be a Q&A. I want to make sure that we continue to answer the questions on Patreon that come in, and the ones that especially that come in that they want them answered in a video like this. When it's possible, I'm going to do it live. It's way more fun to do it live instead of talking to a camera. That being said, if I can't do it live for some reason, and I'll know by where we are, we're going to do it like this to make sure that we still answer these questions and we still have some fun. And of course, we've been chatting in the comments the whole time anyway, so it's been pretty sweet. So I'm going to go ahead and get this edited together. I'm going to get it uploaded, and because you're going to see this just in a few hours, I'm going to try to do it as real time as possible. And I think, I'm not saying I'm going to go daily with some vlogs, but I'm going to shoot a little something every day. I like that. That was fun when we did that for a month. So I'm going to shoot a little something every day as much as I possibly can to try to give you more of this realistic content, because I know a lot of people really liked it. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you on Monday when we talk about this string butler thing. We'll see ya.